guys, welcome to Clockwork, Dan to Noodles for the last breakdown of Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 24. Firstly, if you have started from scratch, you've been there episode, I think it was 12. I didn't break down Season 1 on the channel, but if you've been there from the beginning video of Season 2, just thank you. Wave at me in the comments if you want to. I would absolutely love just to see who's been with me all that time. But as well, even if you don't, thank you so much for being there because I really appreciate it. Maybe it's because I'm in a bit of a weird mood. I've just had Demon Slayer final episode, this final episode. Both of them just absolutely blew me away. Just amazing. I think at the moment, I'm just so grateful that we've done it. And I always feel that way when it comes to seasons that are longer than 12 episodes and a bit more of an investment. You're always worried that you're going to lose people along the way. You've basically sat with me for half a year. So if you have, thank you guys so much. This episode was amazing. I think it was a fantastic wrap up. Those are my brief thoughts before I start digging into all the specifics. I'm going to give you at the end my overall out of 10 score for the entire season. So I've got 3 pages of notes, but then I'm going to give you my wrap up, my overall thoughts on the season. Before we get going, please make sure you guys are subscribed because we're about to roll into a new season, which means new things go on. We're going to go through a horror phase, which I'm very excited because I do love it when a horror anime comes to town, and we've got 2 of them. If you were with me for Moriarty the Patriot, probably gonna like Dead Girl Murder Face Fast, whatever the anime is. I don't even know what it's called. I think I remember it having those words, but I think that's gonna be the show that you guys are absolutely gonna love. I can't wait to break it down because it has a lot of interesting characters and it seems to have a great premise. In a week's time, I'm gonna be ranking my top 3. I'm finally gonna have to sit down and do it, and I can say it's been so tight. It's coming down to the final episodes. I'm getting there. I think I'm actually gonna do something bold, and I think I know what my top 3 are. Again, make sure you are subscribed because if you hit the bell notification, you get a notification when that video goes up. It will be the end of season review. I'm really excited to finally break down the season and talk to you guys because there's been some hyped up shows that have fallen off my radar, whilst there's been some amazing shows that have started from nothing to crawl up to almost my top favourites. So I believe it's time to get going. The first opening sequence on the boat was actually a really weird one for me because you realise that both Einar and Thorfinn are listening to Leif talk about Iceland, both learning everything. As we find out, Thorfinn was 6 when he left. I don't know about you guys, but how much do you remember about being 6? I have memories, but I don't know how old I was. Early memories of me being in my garden. I can roughly remember what it looks like. I can't tell you what age I was. I can't even tell you what the politics of my town was back then. Thorfinn learning about his town for the first time makes absolute sense. I really felt like I was in Thorfinn's shoes this week. The entire episode when we went back to the place we'd already been, didn't remember the faces. I still don't recall one of the characters, and I'm gonna let you guys know, and you can hopefully tell me in the comments who that person was. Thorfinn has spent most of his life in Europe. I don't actually know how old Thorfinn is. I presumed he was 16, 17-ish, because I think he's younger than Einar. I think Einar's about 18. I just felt the entire episode like I'd been here before, but I didn't really recognise things. That is amazing. That is the writing. You guys also may have rewatched the season 1 recently, so if you have, you probably don't understand how I'm feeling right now, but I haven't touched season 1. So whenever it came out, that's when I last watched it. I kind of remember this, but I don't. Maybe I'm misremembering situations, and I think that also increases my experience with the episode. Thorfinn's actual meltdown over I don't know how old I am, it's hilarious, but it's relatable. Obviously, we had COVID. I actually thought I was 32. There we go. Okay, I'll show you guys. Last year, I went around going, I'm 32. I thought I was 32. I was 100% I was 32. And then my birthday came around. My mum was like, yeah, happy 32 birthday. And I was like, wait, what? I'm 32? I was happy as well because it meant I got to do the year again. So very excited that I didn't actually age. I was already that age. And for me, it felt like I'd done 32 for 2 years. I really understood his breakdown and him literally just going, wait, how old am I? It's funny, but also really sad because he doesn't remember how old he is because of how much he has been through. How long has it been since Thorfinn last saw home? I am going to presume it's been a decade. Really glad that Thorfinn has finally returned because all of this time I've really wanted him to go back with Leif. Glad that it's the Thorfinn we've got now returning after all this time. Then the angry ball of seething rage coming back. End of season 1. Bringing that Thorfinn back who just wants revenge compared to the Thorfinn who now goes back. Wholeheartedly believe that his mum, his sister, they are more proud of the person he's turned out to be now than the boy who would have been angry, wanting nothing but revenge, and at that point had murdered a lot of people. It's the best moment to have Thorfinn return. Leif Erikson is perhaps second favourite character. He hasn't had much screen time, but to me, he's such a important character. He never gave up, and he's always been that link to Thorfinn, to his dad, to home. I do wonder if I'm actually going to give him an award, end of season review, because I do also do some fun anime awards. I really want to put him on that list. I can't physically recall the people I hung out with when I was 6. If they came into my store now, I wouldn't recognise them. I related so hard to Thorfinn this episode, and I think that also hyped up my score a bit because I was relating to the episode. I can relate to not realising I'm this age and how long ago was it since I did this, and I don't remember this. Very briefly thought that Ylva looked very much like Arnheid. It's the way that they wear their hair. So I actually want to try doing a Viking hairstyle on me. I don't know how that's going to turn out. Maybe if I do it, I will put a video up on the channel and you guys get to see my beautiful face. I have a face for radio. That's why I really enjoy talking to you guys like this. It's interesting to note that Leif did tell them I've seen Thorfinn, but they just believed he was dead. It was more realistic. Can you really believe that a 6-year-old child in the cruel Viking world really stood a chance? Fully understand why they thought he was dead. I too, if that was my situation, I'd be like, yeah, no, that person's dead. They're not gonna make it. The cruelty of the world that they're in. They also didn't watch season 1 or season 2 of us, guys. Ylva, your strength. I remember the strength. I definitely remember her being like the tomboy, being very strong. I recall her being the strongest in the village. That's why she didn't want to get married, because she was stronger than everybody. She said she didn't want a boy who she was stronger with. Vaguely recall it. But the moment where, rest in peace Thorfinn, his face literally came off his body, I spat my M&Ms out. I was chewing on them, writing notes, enjoying myself. So funny. And Vinland Saga up to this point has just been so heavy. There's been moments in this anime where I've just needed to go and find comedy afterwards. Vinland Saga is usually a very serious show. When it does comedy, however, I'm not expecting it. I think it hits harder. And I absolutely loved the moment where she's like shaking him. And a bit later on, she thinks he's a scam artist. Again, you probably had that reaction if someone came back out the blue. Why are you here? What are you after? Do I actually know you? I loved that moment. I thought it was hilarious. You can understand why she thinks he's a fraud. You also had IKEA Thorfinn floating around. I don't know if he's came back anytime soon. She would see him and probably think he's a knockoff version as well. You believe he's dead. Probably also went through the grieving period and that was it. I've moved on. By this point, she's had kids. Amazed to see that she'd actually settled down, had kids. You can see both sides really kind of struggle to remember each other because even Thorfinn says, I vaguely remember them. I don't really remember them very well. Ylva and Helga obviously grieved, told themselves that he's dead. If it has been a decade, even a year can be very different. I went through a loss last year myself. I can still remember their face roughly, but time does its little thing where you start forgetting details. 10 years on top of that would be very interesting to see how I feel in 10 years, guys. Hopefully I'm still running the anime channel by that point. IKEA Thorfinn. He is correct. Just be thankful they're both alive and well. Especially in the cruel Viking world that you have experienced. So many people died young. So many people have lost their fathers. So many people have lost family members. You've still got 2 out of the 3 of your family members alive. And that's more than IKEA Thorfinn has had. I still do find it a bit weird that his name is Bug Eyes and it's written as Bug Eyes and he accepts this is his name. The weird part for me as well, though, that Thorfinn has nieces, he has nephews, he's got family that he didn't even know. Ylva's finally found somebody that she decided would be good enough for a husband. He seems pretty decent, I have to say. I will say to you guys, this is the character. I have absolutely no clue who he is. I'm sorry. They seem to know each other. That's fine. He seems nice. That's okay. Clearly, we've got kids and he's a nice guy. Definitely remember her not wanting to pick a boyfriend or anything. She just thought they were all weak. I would love to know how he actually popped the question and she actually went, okay, yeah, you're going to be the boyfriend. I lost my crap when Bug Eyes, Ma, it's me, made me laugh so much. Again, I wasn't expecting a very touching, nice moment to be wrecked by him going, yep, it's me, I'm Thorfinn. Hope we see him in season 3, if there's a season 3, because he seems so fun to have around. Nice bit of comic relief. I think you need it in a show like this. Would be nice to see if he comes back next season. Everyone's face is, what? It's like, what? Excuse me? Cried inside. It was so funny. I think Vinland Saga, when it really wants to, really does comedy well, just because of the serious nature of the show in general, as I have said. Mothers really just know. I was expecting the mum to really recognise him. They never forget their children. I love this moment because it's so touching. You think that maybe she's going towards Bug Eyes, maybe she's confused, but I was like, no. She knows her son. She goes straight to him. Side-by-side comparison with 4 as well. I was like, okay, I can kind of see it. Like, you've got the eyes and the nose roughly. I never really thought Thorfinn looked like Dad. It's weird. I can kind of see it, but I still think he looks very much like Asklad a little bit. I think he looks a bit like Leif sometimes, especially with the new haircut. He looks very much like Leif. He's moulded by the people around him, and often enough his haircut, which always brings in the next season. Thorfinn is similar, where you go through a breakup, you change your hairstyle, new you, new chapter. I get that, Thorfinn. I am totally down with it. Bit of a bowl cut going on, I think, is a Canute thing. It also reminds me of the Normans. Pictures of the Normans with bowl cuts up to your ears. It looks really bad. This is the style of hair we're dealing with at this period of time. mega kudos to the VA. Powerful voice. The moment when he starts crying, interested to see if he actually was really crying, because he knows what Thorfinn's been through, and it's probably the first time he's seen the voice actor for his mum. Hopefully they saw each other. I know sometimes they record and they just do their lines. It's the first time, if they had been together, he would have seen that actor in God knows how long it's been since season 1 came out. I don't actually remember the dates. I feel like it's been 4 or 5 years. The moment when the guy came in, he recognised Thorfinn. They hug. Thorfinn actually calls him Ari. I don't know who this is, guys, and I really hope someone in the comments can fill me in. He is the husband to Jelva, so he is the man that she decided to stick with. Also, very touched that Thorfinn's mum accepts Einar as her son. You heard the story. You heard Thorfinn calling him his brother, and you just accepted him. She can probably see him as somebody who has protected and been there for her son. Absolutely love that warm welcome, and you can definitely see the warmth of her in Thorfinn now as well. I think he's inherited quite a few nice traits from both. Jelva, inheritance scam. This could be the world's earliest inheritance scam. Such a funny moment, and I really like the way that it's played off. Eventually, she comes to recognise him, and everyone's like, actually, no, this is actually your brother. You're going to have to stop shaking him. Thorfinn almost dies by his sister after everything the guy has been through. Season 1, season 2. It's the sister who almost kills him. Funny irony to it. Breath of fresh air, honestly, this episode. I don't feel like I'm on a cliffhanger or anything. I really want season 3. I would love to see where we're going to go, what the story's going to do. Do I think we're going to get it? I don't think immediately. I think it's going to be probably another 4 to 5 year wait. I'm a patient person. I will wait for anime. I'm still waiting for Noragami. Where is my next season? I'm doing my new feature next season. Noragami is definitely on that list. We're going to break down episode 1, season 1, Noragami. Make sure you're there. Rumblings of season 4 on the wind could be out there somewhere. I would love that. The moment between them as well, seeing how strong she is. I always remembered her being very strong. I thought she really took after Thorfinn as well being shorter. We knew this was going to be the case. I think we mentioned it earlier on in the season because I think someone complained that he was so short. During his very vital years, when you're a kid, when you're doing all your growing, he was out scavenging, living with Askeladd and the guys, having to struggle to stay alive. He's malnourished. He's never going to reach the heights that his sister has hit. He's never going to be the same height as Falls or anything. He's short. Love the fact that they kept to this detail and he is the shorter of the two. The moment when he said, "I'm used to getting hit," though, oh my goodness, that was so dark, but so true. Yeah, we've definitely seen that. We've seen you get hit 100 times over. Thorfinn getting knocked out in 1. I want to see Jelva versus the other guy because I think she'd probably knock him out. Quite poetic that it's the sister who's able to knock the brother out. Thorfinn now giving everybody a recap about season 1, season 2. Now I need to understand how much growth Thorfinn has been through. Maybe it's Thorfinn who's writing the story, who knows. With Mother's blessing at the end, her and Thors, they escaped the cruel world themselves to go to Iceland. He wanted Iceland to stay nice and quiet, and he was trying to discourage Thorfinn from fighting as well, which I think was quite nice. The next bit starts to set up season 3. We start to look at the realistic aspects of how the hell do you make a new country money? How the hell are you going to raise money in a world like this? How do you convince people to join you? Give everything up to go to a world that is right now an unknown. Dangers of going to a new place that you've never really seen or you understand. It's going to be very interesting now to see how they covered this section. To me, this might be my more interesting aspect as a historian because I want to see how they logistically make Vinland. They're finding Viking settlements over there, relics over there and stuff. I thought it was interesting that that's been on the news again, and obviously Vinland Saga right now is airing. My biggest hope right now for season 3 is that Leif Erikson is going to get more screen time. He might be my oldest favourite character right now. Leif Erikson can be a best boy, the way that he never gave up. I'm going to help you. Really hope I get to see you. And I'm probably going to cry if anything happens to Leif Erikson. I'm just going to be a mess in the corner. More of those shivers as we saw the old sword. This is where I think I started getting some of my memories jogged. I have vague memories of season 1, episode maybe 1 or 2. In that room, I think Thorfinn's somehow gone to go find that sword. Maybe it was broken. They were angry. Slave thing had happened. Giving sheep to the guy he didn't know, and then the slave dies. Thors was happy to rescue somebody and let him die a human. First meeting of Thors and how epic he was, how amazing he really was. His family were angry. I remember Jelva being really pissed. I remember her being like, no, that's 8 sheep. We need those 8 sheep. I remember her being really angry at her dad, not understanding Thors at all. Thorfinn, I think, was also upset because his dad didn't fight or anything, and he saw him as weak. I could be misremembering this. If you are standing from Thorfinn's point of view, maybe he kind of vaguely also remembers that, and maybe he's also misremembering. You start thinking about things, you start changing the scenario. The first time you remember a situation, it's probably more real than the second and third time that when you remember it, which is why I think witness testimony and stuff, people don't place a lot of value on witness testimony despite someone being there, because you start to change your story regardless. Leave something out because the story flows better. The power of the writing in this anime is just phenomenal. This is us coming full circle. This is us now talking about this with a different perspective. Thorfinn has come back and now he sees him as the bravest man. He understands his actions because he's gone through the experience himself. Perhaps the most powerful writing of this season. The fact that I'm vaguely remembering it, Thorfinn's vaguely remembering things. I think there must be a credit there somewhere. The anime's just letting me remember things as the characters also remember it. I also like the fact that we don't really get too much of a flashback going on. We don't see the flashback of the story with the guy being saved. It's just all left to your imagination, and I think that's powerful. Really, all I wanted to say was, like father, like son, help people that they don't understand, they don't know. Thorfinn did that on the farm. Arnheid and Gadir, he didn't even know who Gadir was. The Northern Lights, I think it's a beautiful add-in as well. No music, no nothing, just the beauty of nature. The moment when young Thorfinn said the line, the hairs on my arm started to raise, then I got goosebumps when I saw the hand come down. Thors answers the question that young Finn had asked, and now the real Thorfinn knows the answer. So young Thorfinn never understood, but the Thorfinn now does understand. Vinland. Thors walking in the fields of gold, and gold as a colour itself is prosperity. We said that last week. It's a sign of hope. Good writing. I don't even know much about the author. I feel shameful for not really knowing much about the guy. Knows how to write. He's probably taken literature. I would be surprised if he hadn't, or he's taken writing. This story to me is deeper than a lot of animes that you sometimes get, which isn't always a bad thing. I put him up there with the guy who wrote 86. Is a master at writing, but at the same time, he's a creative. He's a lover of history. He'll pay homage to things like the Canute thing. Perhaps the biggest tweak with Canute is the poisoning of the brother and the dad. Major tweaks with Canute, but at the same time, feels like he's been quite respectful of the characters and the original source material. Powerful vocals kick in, and I knew it was that moment where we're going to start getting the flashes. We're going to start getting perhaps season 3 teased. I don't think they did the big tease that they did at the end of season 1 where the knife dropped and you got the tease of season 2. I would love to actually go back now. I might have to do that after this video. Go rewatch that knife hitting the floor, because at the time I had no clue who any of the characters were. Probably would go back now and see Einar and be like, that's Einar, I recognise him. Don't really feel like we get that with this. We really just see the flashback of younger characters. We see Leif Erikson, Thors and Helga running away, the flower on the grave. We also see a young Askeladd, and I must say Askeladd looks very handsome in his younger years. I do think now the new haircut looks too much like Canute, but I also think it stylises the anime, it ages us up. I always think the Norman period is the period where everyone had bowl cuts. Thorfinn is just joining what is fashionable of the period. I think that's quite nice. Every time we go into a new season, Thorfinn gets a new haircut. Maybe he's going to get a new haircut by the end of season 3. We're just going to eventually see bald Thorfinn. That would be hilarious. We are now getting ready for a new chapter. How are we going to start doing the Vinland? How do we make the Vinland the dream? How do we make it real? Now we're going to go into my last little chunk where I give you my score out of 10. This for me was pretty difficult. Now I will say that I thought the pacing for this season was a little bit off. I do understand the need to have slow. I think the pacing was a little bit maybe at times too slow. So I can imagine that there's more material that has been left out. I would have loved that OVA with Snake, but Snake's now probably long gone. We're probably never going to see the character again. I know you guys said they were teasing some story with him, but they decided it just didn't work. The flow didn't work out or anything. It was by no means a bad anime. This anime, for me still, had some of the best writing of the season. Now, I have just been in a position where I just saw the Demon Slayer final episode, and I saw this one back to back. Now I'm thinking about it, even though Demon Slayer's last episode was an hour, so it's very difficult to compare an hour to a 25-minute episode, I think the Vinland Saga, if I also include last week's episode, the crown would still go to Vinland Saga. Because of how long and how slow season 2 was, that overall impact when you finally get everything starting to go in the right direction, it feels like you've really worked for it. It feels like, oh my goodness, finally. Like, this is 10 years in the making. Thorfinn is finally getting some good things happen to him. And for me, that payoff is massive. At no point does the author just suddenly forget about things, then bring it back in or anything. He must have had books and books trying to remind himself, this happened, then this happened, this plot line goes here, I want to talk about this character here. Honestly think that Vinland Saga is better than season 3 of Demon Slayer. I feel bad saying it, I really do. Demon Slayer is great, but I don't think season 3 has been the best for me. In a toss-up between which one would I want to watch again, it would say Vinland Saga. I probably want to fast forward some of the farm bits, but I do think overall Vinland Saga for me has been a gem this season. I'm going to give it a score of 8.8. And I've been thinking about this really hard. It's so close to a 9, but I don't really give out 9s. It's a rare thing for me. 8.8 is blooming high for me. It's sad to see how many people just drop it or they call it Midland Saga. That hurt. That really hurt. I was so sad when I was seeing that. It's not a bad show though. It's just different. You guys maybe like signed up for the violence and then left because it wasn't there anymore. This show is a lot more powerful. It's more adult. I believe that watching Thorfinn become the man that he is so refreshing, and every single character is fleshed out. Every single character. I didn't even know who Gadir was, and I was crying at the welcome home bit. And I've said to you guys, there's been 2 moments this season where I honestly cried at Vinland Saga. Cried genuinely at 2 moments of this show, which means that the anime has done so much for me. I absolutely love season 2. It had pacing issues. There's moments where I probably would fast forward a little bit. I think it's done an amazing job. Olmar as well. I knew Olmar was going to be important. Seeing him come full circle and become very much like Thorfinn, that was just amazing. I think we've had some amazing characters. I'd like to see what happened to Thorgil. I have a feeling like Thorgil might come back at some point. He seemed very angry, and it was angry that Canute had run off. So I wonder if that's going to be important, because Canute's reign isn't actually a very long one. It's long in comparison to the people who've been before, who'd run for like 2 years, but he does eventually vanish. That's going to happen at some point. The saga of Vinland, Thorfinn's got a bit more of a run of a story going on, even though he technically hijacked Leif Erikson's story. Thank you guys so much. This is the last time I get to talk to you guys about Vinland Saga. I'm so sad. I really do hope that you guys have at least enjoyed listening to my thoughts. You don't always have to agree with me. I'm not here to convince anybody regardless. I'm just telling you guys that I honestly think this show is better than the Midland Saga stuff that's floating around. I think it's a really good anime. Honestly, cannot wait to see season 3. I hope you enjoyed my final wrap up and at least agree roughly with my scores. You guys might even have that at 10 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for the last time. I will see you around. Maybe I'll see you next season. Bye bye guys.